Morning guys, Wednesday the 28th of October. It's light and it's blue, well, but it's real ice to the air, really brisk and yeah, that quite icy. Certainly wakes you up a lot quicker. Been watching this program on well, Married at First Sight, so it's basically where they match a couple up based on, their likes and preferences and values and so on, and then you don't actually lay eyes on each other until the day of the wedding. And I just find it really fascinating, that whole piece where, on paper, everything in inverted commas should match up. Well, but then obviously you throw the real human beings, so to speak, and their reality of how they respond to each other and so on. The whole chemical ingredient. And there was one couple where they actually, they got on pretty well actually. They obviously, like any relationship, had to weigh up things they might need to work on or compromise on, and that included quite a massive decision about moving areas from one side of the country to the other. But they were both, I think, prepared to work on it, and I think she was prepared to move that little bit more than he was, and there was give and take and so on. But there was this other couple, and again, on paper, as they all kept saying, this should have been the absolute match on so many levels. And in reality, she just, by the second day, it was quite apparent to me. I remember one of the people who'd matched them making the comments as well, that this woman kept saying verbally how she was the most open person and she was open to things, and her biggest value was connection, and she's very spiritual, did a Reiki and yoga and so on. And yet what was fascinating from the outside looking in was she actually seemed really, I think she seemed quite closed from the beginning. She was slightly put off by somebody's tattoo. She didn't say it was a deal breaker, but I think he got the vibe. It was slightly different, I think. And I've always said what you say, but what you do or the tone may say something quite different. Well, and then he shared he got this little pack that he'd, I suppose, like a prepping pack, like when you go out and you've got all the stuff you might need in case of an emergency. And that really freaked her out beyond belief. Like she was saying, oh, that means that he comes from a place of waiting for something to happen. Well, lives in fear. Whereas it was interesting, their interpretation was very different. He was saying, no, I have this pack I've created in case of an eventuality, and actually that's why I don't live in fear. That's why I sort of I feel prepared and prepped. Willow! Will, come on! He felt prepared and prepped because he had this pack, so that actually enabled him to feel, he'd got certain things. Oh, I mean, in terms of eventuality, but it just struck me. Yes, they had quite different interpretations of how they were viewing things, but not only that, this woman, I'll be honest, she really irritated me actually, and I think she irritated me because all the things she kept saying about what she was and what she valued and how she was open, I just felt like actually she wasn't, and she closed it down literally from pretty much the day after the wedding itself. And although on the face of it, she was saying this other guy was a little bit closed, and he by his own admission said, oh, I'll have my wall up a bit, until I feel I can trust a little bit, and perhaps, I mean, they were 50 odd as well in terms of age wise, so they've come with some life experience and history and so on. And then when they were interviewing them, one of the people who'd matched them had commented previously actually about this woman feeling that they actually were more closed than what they thought, the woman said she was, and then gave the feedback again when they met them towards the end, and also the guy of the other couple who did work, they met them at one point. They met up at some retreat towards the end, and again when she was sharing about this other woman, how she felt and how she was open and so on, you saw the look in this other guy's face of the other couple. Definitely had this look of I'm not quite sure that you're as open as what you're actually saying you believe you are. And I think this is where working with other people, whether that be at work or whether it be in a group, like for example the personal development group that I'm running on Thursday evening, I think this is where you do absolutely need the objective viewpoints of other people to make comments on what they see, what they perceive, because we all have what I call blind spots. We're too close to something, or we really want to believe that we are of a certain type of person, or we want to believe that there's a quality about ourselves which is really the best of ourselves. So for example, it might be you perceive yourself as a really great listener, and yet in certain relationships with certain people in certain circumstances you might actually really struggle to not interrupt and keep your mouth shut. And so even though you may be a really good listener in some circumstance and you want to perceive yourself in that way, the reality is you may not be as good a listener as what you want to believe you are, or you think you are. So I think it's really important to try and listen and be open to other people's noticings, their observations, their feedback. And I mean, it's feedback is also somebody else's opinion as well. I mean, it's more somebody I think can be giving feedback that is factually observed, from behaviour or actual conversation or tone of voice, the more true and effective it will be. But there's still going to be an element of bias from any human being, but I think it has to be that little bit more objective, because it's another person looking at it from the outside in. And as I would say, you know, all feedback is just that, it's feedback. So, you know, what you then choose to do with the feedback is obviously up to you, but it's, you know, if you can be open to it and learn from it and consider, well, you know, what's, you know, where's the lesson to be learned, where's the stretch in that, and it can be really effective. Same way, I think we're working in, say, a group or a team of other people, particularly if people have got to know you over a period of time. And then I've done some organisations, I've done, like, say, 360-degree feedbacks. So you get the feedback from others. And some of those, they've also made them anonymous, which works relatively well, I think, if you've got a bigger team, because no matter what people say about being anonymous, if it's a really small group, yeah, people start to try and suss out quite quickly who's done what, who's said what, and that can be really useful as well for somebody who has got a blind spot, doesn't quite see what other people see, or other people are trying to tell them something they think they need to work on, but they don't seem to be open to listening. That can be really useful to do a 360 as well. So guys, be open to feedback from others as much as you can. And yeah, just be mindful of what possible areas you still need to work on and develop. Have the rest of a wowsy, wonderful Wednesday. And where's one going? Coming through the bushes. Yeah. And I shall speak to you later, guys. Okay, take care. Bye.